"We wish Vanessa were our only child," Dad said at dinner. I smiled. "As you wish, Dad." 6 months later, their empire crumbled without me. "We wish Vanessa were our only child." My father said that out loud. In the middle of a crowded anniversary dinner, crystal glasses, candlelight, 40 guests, and me sitting 3 feet away. I smiled at him, nodded politely, and said, "As you wish, Dad." 6 months later, their store was bankrupt, their house was gone, and suddenly they remembered they had another daughter. If you've ever been the overlooked child, the responsible one, the silent fixer who never gets credit, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because tonight's revenge isn't loud, it's patient, it's poetic, and it's devastating. I grew up in a narrow brick house in Chicago, in a family that owned a small boutique clothing store called Vanessa's Closet. Not Lauren's Closet, not a family name, Vanessa's. My sister was 2 years older than me, blonde, dramatic, permanently glued to her phone. She had this talent for existing loudly. If she breathed, my parents applauded. If I achieved something, it was expected. Vanessa would scribble some Pinterest-inspired slogan on a napkin, and my mom would gasp like she'd invented electricity. I graduated top of my class in finance. My dad said, "That's nice. You'll be useful for the store." Useful. Not brilliant, not impressive. Useful. After college, I moved into the city and got a corporate job analyzing retail operations. I built projections, fixed broken systems, identified leakages and profit margins, and every month, without fail, I sent my parents $600. They never asked directly. They just sighed on the phone. Sales are slow. Rent's going up. Vanessa's trying so hard, so I stepped in. I reviewed their inventory remotely. I redesigned their supplier contracts. I stayed up until 2 a.m. fixing their bookkeeping disasters, while Vanessa posted filtered selfies captioned CEO vibes. My dad would call her the visionary. I was the spreadsheet. Their 35th anniversary was at this over-the-top Italian restaurant downtown. Gold-trimmed chairs, string quartet. My mom insisted on a slideshow. Guess who was in 90% of the pictures? Vanessa. Modeling dresses, cutting ribbons, laughing with customers. There were maybe 3 photos of me. In the background, when my dad stood up to toast, I actually felt proud. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd acknowledge how hard I'd worked behind the scenes. He raised his glass. To my beautiful wife, to our incredible daughter Vanessa, who will carry on the legacy of our store. Polite applause. Then he laughed. And sometimes I think, wouldn't it have been easier if Vanessa were our only child? The room chuckled awkwardly. My ears rang. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped something out of me. I waited. Maybe he'd correct it. Maybe say he was joking. He didn't. Vanessa smirked into her wine glass, and in that moment, something in me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. I realized I had been auditioning for love my entire life, and I was done. I smiled, steady, calm. "As you wish, Dad." He didn't even notice the shift in my voice. The next morning, I canceled the automatic transfer. $600 a month. Gone. I didn't announce it. I didn't send a dramatic text. I simply stopped. Then I stopped answering late-night bookkeeping calls, stopped reviewing contracts, stopped fixing their payroll errors. The first month, my mom texted, "Hey, sweetheart, did something happen with the bank?" I replied, "No, just reallocating my finances." 3 dots blinked, then disappeared. The second month, my dad called. "Sales are tight. We're counting on you." I inhaled slowly. I thought Vanessa was the only child you needed. Silence, then anger. "Don't be dramatic." Dramatic. The irony almost made me laugh. Without me, the cracks widened fast. Vanessa had convinced them to invest in a luxury rebrand. She ordered overpriced inventory without analyzing demand, switched suppliers based on aesthetics instead of margins. She hosted influencer nights that cost more than they generated. Within 3 months, they were drowning. Vendors demanded payment, rent doubled, credit lines maxed out. And here's the part that makes this story deliciously ironic. Extended family started asking questions, because when things got bad, my parents tried to spin it. "We've supported Lauren for years," my mom told an aunt. "She's always been the expensive one." That's when my aunt called me directly. I didn't rant. I sent screenshots. 6 years of transfers, $600 every month, plus emergency bailouts. The truth spread through the family like wildfire. At Sunday dinner, apparently, Vanessa tried to claim she managed finances. My cousin asked, "Then why was Lauren sending you money?" No answer. Their landlord posted a legal notice on the boutique's front window. Final notice. Customers whispered. Social media turned brutal. Vanessa's curated girl boss persona started cracking. She posted a tearful story blaming economic downturn. Someone commented, "Or bad management?" Within weeks, the store closed. Then came the house, refinanced twice, leveraged against the business, gone. They moved into a cramped rental on the edge of town. For the first time in my life, I wasn't there to cushion their fall. And here's the thing, I didn't feel giddy. I felt light, like I'd been carrying a piano on my back for years and finally set it down. My grandfather, Walter, had been quietly watching everything. He never spoke much during the family gatherings, just observed. One afternoon, he invited me to coffee. He slid a folder across the table. "I know what you've done for them," he said. Inside were copies of my transfers. He'd asked the bank to verify after hearing rumors. "They treated loyalty like it was your obligation," he continued. It wasn't. A month later, he rewrote his will. Everything, his savings, his property, went to me. Not out of spite, out of recognition. When my parents found out, Vanessa called me screaming. "You manipulated him." I laughed softly. For once, I didn't do anything. Meanwhile, my own career was exploding, in the best way. At work, I landed a $2.5 million retail optimization contract. My boss shook my hand and said, "You saved this client's company." Promotion followed. For the first time, my success wasn't siphoned off to fix someone else's incompetence. Emily, my best friend, took me out to celebrate. Ethan, my partner, squeezed my hand across the table and said, "You don't owe anyone your exhaustion." That sentence hit harder than my father's toast ever did. I built a life where love wasn't conditional on usefulness, where I wasn't the backup generator for someone else's spotlight. 6 months after the dinner, my dad called again. His voice was smaller. "We're thinking of reopening. Maybe you could consult, just temporarily." I stood by my apartment window, looking out over the Chicago skyline I'd worked for. I remembered the laughter, the toast, the smirk. "As you wish, Dad," I repeated softly, "but I think you already have the only child you need." And I hung up, not angry, not shaking, just free. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. It's about withdrawal, about letting people experience the full weight of a world you've been holding up for them. When you stop overextending yourself for people who undervalue you, balance restores itself, not through cruelty, through absence. If the story hit home, If you've ever been the invisible one carrying everyone else, drop a comment and tell us. When did you finally choose yourself? Smash that like button if this gave you chills. And subscribe for more stories where karma doesn't knock. It kicks the door in.